Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today I wanted to do something I don't normally do, which is a product review, and really I'm going to cover a couple things. Start that again. 3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome back to another TerranScapes video. Today I wanted to do something a little unusual and do a quick couple product reviews. I've recently purchased a couple new items. I mentioned one of them, the wire branches, and I wanted to give you a more close-up look at these and also show you a little bit about how I use them. And I also wanted to talk about a new tree that I just purchased from Hecky. Hope I'm pronouncing that right, it's German. Tell you a little bit about pros and cons of trees and the kinds of qualities that I look for in selecting them, and hopefully it might help you find the right tree that fits your budgets. So the first product I wanted to talk to you about were these wire foliage branches. These are produced by Bachmann, and they come in two colors, at least two, medium green and dark green. They're part of their TerranScapes lines, and I've purchased their conifer trees through the TerranScapes product line, and they're absolutely fantastic. They're a little bit more expensive, but I really like their durability and overall quality. So I thought I'd take a chance with the wire branches since I'd had such a good experience with the TerranScapes products in the past. And from the packaging, looked like they were, very densely foliaged. I expected good foliage attachment, and going to really provide a kind of a nice versatile piece to use. What I ended up with were cat. Say hi. Meow. What I ended up with were, let's take out a couple of these so I can show you. When you remove them from the package, now sometimes with products like these they can vary in their production quality from batch to batch. I've seen that with clump foliage and other kinds of products, so this could be a rarity. I haven't opened the second package yet, but you can see right away that once you remove them from the package, they have very sporadic amount of vegetation on them. Let me get a couple more here so we can get a nice sample here. The foliage is loosely attached. Although what foliage is provided seems to be attached to most of the wires because there isn't a lot of loose clumps in the bottom. But these are definitely not what I expected or what I was hoping I could work with. So what I've ended up doing is actually taking the hot glue. Don't mind that cat. So what I've ended up doing is taking hot glue. Now originally, wait a minute, I should go through the steps I went. First I tried painting some, so I get a brush, and I'll do it down here so it stays kind of in focus. I'd get a brush and I'd paint on a little bit of white glue, I'd roll it in some flock, let that dry, paint on a little more white glue, roll it in some flock and build it up. And then what I realized is, cats. And then what I realized I should do instead, so here's a finished one to show you a comparison. This obviously looks a little bit, and I'll give you a close-up of that so you can see that. A little bulbous in its overall shape, but definitely fills it out a little bit, and I think it's going to, I think they look fine for what they are, as sort of an intermediate small shrub with a very thin, wiry trunk frame. I actually just take these now, and what I've been doing is just rolling a little hot glue around the end and then rolling that in the flock. It dries much more quickly, and I'm able to build them out much faster. And you get a nice durable finish, and then afterwards I put a sealant on it so that the flock doesn't brush off, and that really helps hold it up. So, it's the kind of product that is going to produce a lot of versatility in terms of, because these are bendable, you can shape them, you can do whatever you want, but when you bend them excessively, especially along the thicker areas, some of the paint that is on the stems will flake off. Let's see if I can find a little spot. If I show it real close, I think you can see a couple of those bends, the joins. The paint has flaked off. To me, it's not a big consideration, but this kind of a product, a lot of potential. Definitely going to take some labor to be able to get the full use out of it. So those are the Bachmann wire foliage branches. The second thing I thought I would talk about today are Hecky's line of trees. Let me pan back here. I saw these trees sort of demoed in another review video by another terrain modeler, and I got really intrigued. These trees cost about roughly about $2 a piece. Let me see. This box holds. I hate doing this. I'm sorry. 60 pieces. Costs about I want to say $95. So actually closer to $1 a tree. And at a distance, the tree actually looks pretty solid. These are the medium-sized trees. They are 10 to 13 centimeters tall, so that's roughly coming up to almost 6 inches, not quite, about 4 to 5 inches. And what I was hoping for first was that there'd be firm foliage attachment. The way I make my trees right now, I hot glue all the foliage on, and it takes quite a bit of time. And so I was really excited at the thought that I could get, you know, a decent price on a tree that comes ready-made right out of the packaging. When I took a look at these, however, I was a little disappointed. Let me see if I can show you. If you look, you know, there are, you know, quite a few bare areas at some of the junctions, and more importantly, I can see some glue in some of the spots. It produces a bit of a shine where the glue is exposed, and that is, you know, a killer for me. I really don't want any kind of attachment adhesive showing through. And I thought, well, that's not a big deal because I can just foliage over it myself and bring them up to snuff. But the thing is I can't. Let me see if I can give you a real close-up of the foliage here. The foliage itself, well, you can see it on the back side there, is a much larger cell structure than the clump foliage that Woodland Scenic produces, for instance. It gives it a bit of a spongy material, sort of, almost kind of like a northwest conifer, maybe, or obviously not a conifer, but you know, it's got this sort of, I don't know, it looks a little spongy. Hard to describe it much more than that. And that means that I can't flock over this or add more foliage because I don't have any materials like this to use. So perhaps I'll check on the Hecky site and see if they've got loose foliage that I could use to bulk up trees and hide some of the glue points. But without that, at least for my level of quality, they're not very useful. Saying that, at about $1.50 a tree, if you need to cover a large area, this might be a good way to go. The trees have their bases are attached, and that's another distinction. Normally the bases are in a pin, so you can remove the base to insert the tree in a bottom platform. And here the base is molded into the trunk, so that's not going to be an option. One option would be to you know, drill out small amount and then put rare earth magnets in it. That might be a nice solution for easy movement on and off of stands, particularly for things like tournaments. It's just an idea that I had. Some friends are interested in running a GT in the future, and it made me think these trees might be an option for them down the road. This is their slightly larger tree set. These trees are 7 inches tall, and taking a look at them, one of the things that I noticed right away, let me pull a tree out of here, is that first, same type of foliage. It's the large cell structure, spongy foam, and I'm going to show you a Woodland Scenics tree in a second for comparison. The other thing I noticed on these, which kind of surprised me, is that they've gone in and sheared off a series of branches at the bottom for reasons which I can't necessarily identify particularly, except to say that perhaps they wanted to speed up the process and didn't want to foliage, you know, all from here to here. You drop an inch, that saves quite a bit of time and materials probably, but it left it a little unsightly. And all of these have these rough cuts, something that I would want to probably shave down just slightly with a quick knife just to bring it smooth with the shaft of the tree. The other thing that I noticed is that the tree shaft itself, the trunk, doesn't have really any texture on it at all. That's another thing that I personally look for, so I was a little bit disappointed in that. Few mold lines flash that you can see along the bottom there, but lacking any real, what's the word I'm looking for, any bark texture on them. They do have a base which looks detachable but feels like it's glued in, so again, that might be something to consider, although the base does have a nice root texture on it, which kind of works. But again, you know, you could drill this out, put a rare earth magnet in it, and then have your tree there. Again, this box contains 30 pieces. These cost $95, so this was almost $3 a tree. Not the kind of quality that I want to use in my forests, but might find a suitable home in some kinds of environments, especially where you need a lot of trees quickly and easily, as I will give them some props and say that the foliage is firmly attached, doesn't seem to be flaking off, so you don't have to worry about, there's a little piece, but I mean in general this is pretty solid. Let me compare it to something a little bit more expensive, just to give you a sense of what value buys. These are their Woodland Scenics realistic trees. These trees come pre-made. Now you can buy the armatures and the foliage and build them yourselves. I often do that, but in this case you can purchase them pre-made. They come in a clamshell pack. And let me take one of these out. Here we go. Alright, Woodland Scenic trees, they come with a removable base and pin system so that you could, in theory, pin them into the substrate without the base, although a big tree like this might need a little more help if it's not in something firm like plaster. But one of the things to note is that the foliage, now see here, hopefully you can get a good sense, it's a much finer cell structure. So the foliage looks quite a bit improved over the Hecky trees, and the bark on the stem, it has nice bark texture, which could be painted. I don't at this point, but it could be painted up, quick dry brush if you're willing to get in there with your brush. What I find with these trees is the foliage tends to be a little hit or miss on how well it's attached. See how big this piece is? See how loosely that's attached right there? So I often strip off about 50 to 70% of the foliage, to be honest with you, off these trees, and then I hot glue it all back on. That's why they're so expensive, because I want them to be durable over time, and it takes quite a bit of time to do that. But the armatures are bendable, so you can reshape them if you need to, but overall they give you a pretty good shape. Now price-wise, a pair of these trees at a discounted rate online is $14. So you're paying $7 to $8 a tree as opposed to $3 a tree for the comparable size Hecky tree. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where you get what you pay for. I was hoping that the Hecky trees were going to be a nice new armature shape. That's one of the things I'm always looking for, is new shapes of trees as well. But in the end, the foliage just isn't quite up to the snuff for the kind of work that I do, but might find the right home in the right budget for a lot of wargamers out there. So I wanted to show them to you before I moved on with them. Hecky makes quite an extensive line of products. I have not sampled a variety of them, but I will take a look and see if I can find any of the foliage on them. One of the interesting things that my wife pointed out, which I missed, let me see here if I can find it. Oh, wait a minute. No, I can't find it. Oh, geez. There we go. Is that they're actually made in Germany. Now that's rare. Oftentimes, you know, lots of these materials, particularly woodland scenic trees, for instance, these are assembled in China, components made in the USA, and then it's assembled in China. So, you know, there is a certain value to paying, you know, first world wages, and to get these trees at the value that they're trying to provide. They've lowered the overall quality slightly to keep that value there. So it's an interesting note, and I didn't expect to see that on the box, so something to keep in mind depending on your political preferences. So I hope that taking a quick look at those trees was a little bit helpful for you. Like I said, I don't always do product reviews, but sometimes when something comes in that's noteworthy, I like to share it with you. If you have any questions or comments regarding trees, different brands that are out there, I may or may not know, but if I know, I'm happy to pass along that information, so feel free to put questions or comments in the comment section down below, and keep your eye on the channel for some more videos to come out. And I'm putting now in the description all the contact information and website information so that you can find it there, so I don't have to keep repeating it at the end of every video. So make sure you check that out if you're curious, and I'll talk to you soon.